Far too often, when there is a movie or TV adaptation of a story, people don't bother reading the book. As someone who rather likes books, I found this rather unfortunate because most of the time the source material is even better than the movie, though there are some exceptions, of course. Today, a review of a good source material, Sword Art Online, the light novel. Sword Art Online is set in the year 2022, where a technology called Full Dive has been developed. It allows players to immerse their consciousness inside virtual worlds. The story follows Kirito, a teenage gamer, as he risks his life playing virtual reality massively multiplayer online games. Now, some might be a bit surprised that playing a video game would be an endeavor that puts you in mortal danger, but let's just say that the game developers in this series aren't exactly benevolent. The story starts with our protagonist, Kirito, getting trapped in the game Sword Art Online, along with 10,000 other people. Unethical developer number 1 had decided to remove the logout option, and rigged the full dive technology such that anyone who dies in the game kicks the bucket in real life as well. The game can only be escaped by beating it, and so initially the story's focus is on Kirito trying to beat the game and escape. Another important aspect of the story initially is Kirito's romance with Asuna, another player stuck in the game. Now, you'll note that I just used the word initially several times, and that's because a relatively small portion of the story's time is actually spent in the Sword Art Online game. After Kirito beats this game, he continues to play other games using full dive technology. Apparently, getting stuck in a deadly virtual world once wasn't enough for him. Also, because half the people involved with full dive technology are unethical, evil, or completely crazy, Kirito continues to be putting his life at risk playing these games. The new arcs include few of the main characters from previous ones, so don't get too attached to anyone other than Kirito or Asuna. Lastly, parts of the story are told non-linearly, and there's an extensive use of time loops, which will likely annoy anyone who wanted a continuous story. There are quite a number of characters that are introduced in this series, but only 2 of them are important for multiple arcs: Kirito, and to a lesser extent Asuna. Kirito is our main protagonist, and he's introspective and quiet. But despite this, he will occasionally act in a humorous manner. Also, while not being arrogant, he certainly has no lack of self-confidence. On this basis, I find him to be a fairly likable character. But there are some issues with his character too. He's continually overpowered at all points in this series, to the point where he has a serious case of Superman syndrome. He'll literally enter into a game he's never played before, enter a tournament against the top players, and win. I know it's science fiction and there's going to be some things that are a bit unrealistic, but really? Also, he seems to have the unnatural ability to make any girl he meets fall in love with him, and it's not exactly clear why. From my experience, quiet gaming geek does not equal chick magnet. Asuna has the potential to be a great female protagonist. She's smart and often serious, but she has some quirks which keep her interesting. She's also a character who's fully Kirito's equal, which means she's just as overpowered as he is. The problem is that the plot forces her into a position where she's either the damsel in distress or a secondary character far too often. As a result, she loses a lot of potential she had to be the strong female lead that we need to see more of in modern storytelling. Also, while she does have her own arc, where she's the lead instead of Kirito, that's also the one arc where the author decided to lay off on the whole life or death stuff. This leads to the arc feeling more like something from the slice of life genre, and as a result, Asuna loses her chance to shine. One thing that I found fascinating about Sword Art Online is the concepts it deals with. How would people act if they were trapped in a virtual world? How would the easy availability of virtual reality affect society? What are the potential applications of virtual reality outside gaming, such as medical or military purposes? This series does a great job exploring these issues, and it can really make you stop and think. Its story is also engaging and full of action. As a result, it is enjoyable to read and not just thought-provoking. I have 2 main issues with this series: time skips and character development. With regards to the former, I think both the first arc and the most recent arc in this series would have been much better if they hadn't skipped large periods of time. Both of these arcs could have been epic long stories, but instead we're left with a strong beginning, a strong end, and a vacuum in the middle. I can only speak for myself, but generally I like stories that have a middle. My second issue is that most of the characters other than Kirito, and to a lesser extent Asuna, are left underdeveloped or play an important role in one arc and then are just abandoned to the role of minor side characters. Kirito isn't a bad character, but he can't carry the story on his own. If you're a sci-fi geek or a gamer, you'll definitely enjoy this series because, hey, wouldn't it be great if full dive technology did exist? It would be a dream come true. If you don't fall into one of these groups, it's a bit of a toss-up. If you can get wrapped up in the action, it's not too hard to ignore the issues with character and plot development. But if you really want a lengthy, well-developed plot, you may be a bit disappointed. Overall, I give this series a 7.5 out of 10. It's certainly above average, but it's not absolutely amazing. Thanks for listening. If you like this video, please subscribe.